From the Sports Hub Games Network, this is Fantasy Football Almost Daily.
Hey everybody, it's Matt Harrison, and this is Fantasy Football Almost Daily. It's our second ever Fantasy Friday show. With me today is my co-host of the Fantasy Football Almost Daily DFS podcast, who's been on absolute fire this year with his picks. It's my friend Trevor T-Bone Jones. Hey, Trevor.
Matt, good to be called up from the AAA roster to, fulfill some responsibilities here.
I don't know if you can handle the big time, can you?
I don't know. I mean, I saw CP last week. We got Kent, who's a veteran. We got you as a veteran. I'm just trying to fill in and not embarrass us.
Speaking of Kent Weyrauch's here as well, and he did so well with his prognostications last week. We had to bring him back for a second straight week. And by the way, we're all in the same room. You're seeing us on different cameras if you're watching the video stream, but we're all in the same room right now. We thought it would be fun to do right before Thanksgiving. Trevor brought a turkey. It's fantastic.
Yeah, good to be back. I don't know about had to bring me back, maybe more reluctantly, but I had to learn more about alloys, so here we are.
Nobody
Although
else would
Chris
do it
won't be
on
here.
Thanksgiving week.
That's true, yeah. Only us few degenerates.
Yep. Before we get going, I'll acknowledge that we're recording the show on Wednesday afternoon. Now, all of us have families, obligations for the weekend, and we could have chosen to skip the podcast or try to plug it in remotely and maybe do it haphazardly, but we chose to do it the best we could, and we're going to do our best to guesstimate injuries. It's kind of tough right now with some of the Wednesday injury reports not fully out, but we're going to do our absolute best, and we may not get it perfect, but we're going to operate on the best possible information that we have. Today on the show, we'll go through the 12 remaining games in week 13 that are taking place on Sunday and Monday. We'll also introduce to you 9 players on whom you can roll the dice, and we'll see if our panel of experts, Trevor and Kent, will be able to solve my 2 tough nuts to crack.
We got to do that one again, do we? It's an every week segment.
Yeah,
I gotta crack your nuts every single week.
Yeah, you got to try to.
Right.
I mean, sometimes you can't. It helps this show immensely, by the way, if you show your support with a follow and a subscription. It helps us even more if you give us a great rating or review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio or even YouTube if you're watching us there. All right, let's get into the matchups here, and we're going to start with Kent. And the Cardinals and Buccaneers face off in Tampa Bay this week, Kent. And Jacoby Brissett and Michael Wilson have been absolutely awesome the last couple of weeks. Can they keep it up this week in Tampa?
I like to call them the modern day Tom Brady and Randy Moss, honestly.
Clearly.
That's what it's looked like on the stat sheet. And honestly, they've been high flying as an offense overall. Jacoby Brissett, I will give the gold grade to this week going against Tampa Bay. He's got 3 games with 300 plus passing yards since he's taken over the starting job. He's getting Marvin Harrison Jr. back, for better or for worse, I guess. But it seems like Michael Wilson has held down that wide receiver 1 duty, but with both of them back, it should be helpful to the passing game overall, I would imagine. So Tampa Bay is allowing the 6th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this year. It's a good spot for him. So I'm going to give him the gold grade.
I have heard that Harrison might not return. They're kind of iffy on that one.
That's the problem with the early week kind of projection here.
Yeah.
But
if Harrison does go, all systems go for sure for Brissett. But even if Harrison doesn't, Brissett's been just fine.
I'm not worried about it. He's been moving around. Greg Dortch is a fine wide receiver too, and obviously Trey McBride's still great. So we can talk about those guys a little bit here. If Marvin Harrison Jr. does play, I'll give him the bronze just because he is technically the lead receiver on this team. We will find out if that is true between him and Michael Wilson. But in the 4 games he did play with Jacoby Brissett, he averaged 7.5 targets, 3.5 receptions, 55 yards, half a touchdown. So not the best numbers from Harrison himself. And potentially Jamel Dean will be back in the lineup for Tampa Bay this week, who does play mostly on the left-hand side where Marvin Harrison Jr. lines up the most at 44% of the snaps. So I'm tempering expectations in his return, especially with Michael Wilson's breakout these last 2 games. But I think he's startable if Jacoby Brissett's in a good spot. So is he. Michael Wilson gets the silver grade, an upgrade over Marvin Harrison Jr. In the last 2 games, he's got 33 targets, 25 receptions, 303 receiving yards. No touchdowns, unfortunately. That's the one downside. But I think if I was going to do an unethical extrapolation to 17 games, he'd be at 2,576 receiving yards. That is 2,576 receiving yards on the year. So that's obviously what he's going to maintain for the rest of the year. Not really, but it would be fun if he did. He will see more of Zion McCollum in coverage here, who has allowed the 8th most receiving yards as the nearest defender, and he's got 6 TDs allowed in coverage, which is tied for second most in the league. So I think Wilson's in a good spot again here. Trey McBride, he's gold. He's first in tight end points per game in last month, 18 points per game, or second closest is Brock Bowers at 14.9. I mean, it's a home run. So I like it. And then we might be getting Trey Benson back in the lineup this week. Again, early in the week, these practice reports we got to pay attention to. If he's out, Bam Knight, I guess, is a touchdown-dependent bronze, kind of like he has been for the last month or so. But
yeah, and we're waiting on Benson because it was a 4 to 6 week injury, and we're now on like week 8.
We're getting at that stretch where you start to wonder if he's coming back at all. But yeah. I think signs have pointed towards him practicing this week. And if I remember right, he maybe even logged limited practices last week. But
he did.
So if he does play, we'll give him the bronze. We still haven't really seen him as the lead back for an entire game. The 2 games where he played 50+% of snaps were the game when James Conner got hurt, and then the week after when he got hurt himself. So it's kind of a tough call to be able to figure out who he is as a lead running back. But if we look at the matchup, Tampa Bay is kind of a weird, they've allowed the most receiving yards to running backs in the league this year, but they have the 7th fewest rushing yards allowed. So you got to hope he gets involved in the passing game. Maybe they'll get him in space to keep him, healthy on the upswing. But I don't know. It's a speculation bronze at best for him.
It seems like a commercial bronze grade.
Yeah,
the lowest grade of bronze.
That's right. We got to learn about some more grades here. So, yeah, that's it for the Arizona side of things. If we swing on over to talk about Tampa Bay, it looks like we're going to have Teddy Bridgewater starting this week. And obviously, I think he's a bench grade. You're going to find 12 better options without a sweat. Baker's dealing with that shoulder sprain and a non-throwing shoulder, so I guess there's maybe a chance he plays and toughs it out. But I don't know. I think I'm just going to stick with the Teddy projection for now. In relief against the Rams last week, he went 8 for 15 for 62 yards and a 44 PFF passing grade. Was not good. The last real action he's had is 2021 with the Broncos, where he played 14 games. He averaged 218 yards per game. He had 18 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, which is okay, but just kind of a low volume, not a high upside profile here. And Arizona quietly allows the 9th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. So we're going to go ahead and give him the bench. Again, another projection here. Bucky Irving could potentially be back in the lineup. If he does play, we'll give him the silver. In the 4 games he played, he had just 1 top 12 finish among running backs, but he did have 99+ scrimmage yards in 3 of 4 games. So maybe if we get like a little bit of touchdown upside, he could get back in that running back 1 argument there. The Arizona Cardinals are allowing the 7th most fantasy points to running backs, the 8th most yards after contact per attempt, and have allowed positive rushing yards over expectation in 5 of their last 6 games to opposing running backs. So it's a good spot if he does play, and I think they need a little bit more dynamic action at the running back position there in Tampa. Emeka Egbuka gets a silver grade. The volume versus results issue just continues. I mean, he got targets again last week. He's had 9+ targets in his last 5 games, but last week he just caught 3 passes for 32 scoreless yards. You were not happy with the outcomes there, regardless of the usage he's getting. And
defenses are just keying in on him right now.
Yeah, I mean,
not allowing him to get it deep at all. And
until Godwin's up to full speed, which he's not. We'll talk about that in a second. He's really just the focal point of this offense, and it's easy to shut him down as a first-year receiver. So, and he's probably hitting that rookie wall now too, which is something I know a lot of early wide receivers deal with. So, the only the only defensive back on Arizona with more than 1 touchdown allowed in coverage or a passer rating allowed of higher than 99 is Garrett Williams, who plays in the slot. And Emeka Egbuka has been playing more outside since Godwin returned to the lineup. So not a good look for Egbuka here. He gets a silver just on the volume, but it's been pretty rough for him lately. Godwin, I will give a silver to as well. I know he's got some similar issues in terms of the results, but
these sound like Shibuya grades.
Yeah, I mean, we probably do need to flex them up or down a little bit, but He does get that better matchup against Garrett Williams, who is the 12th highest in catch rate over expectation allowed. And he's allowed 5 touchdowns in coverage, which is 9th worst in the league. And that's in just 6 games played. So he's got room to be even worse. Last week, the game got out of hand and Godwin only played 36% of snaps. So I think we still need to see a full snap game out of him to really decide if he's back or not. And I think he's got an opportunity to break out in this one.
It feels like silver grades are pretty nice
they got
of
a
you to
range
give with Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback.
That might be fair. If I had to downgrade, that's a good point.
If Baker randomly starts playing, I think we're good. But if it's Teddy, it feels like maybe bronze grades for those guys.
If I have to downgrade one, then I will downgrade Egbuka and I'll leave the silver on Godwin.
Okay.
And hope that he plays a full set of snaps in a better defensive matchup. And I think he can excel there.
Yeah.
And then Kate Otten is bench. We're not going to play him at all. He's had targets, but nothing meaningful coming out of him lately.
Mm-hmm. All right, Trevor, your first matchup on Fantasy Friday here. The Texans-Colts might be the most interesting game on Sunday for reals. Will it be Davis Mills again, or will it be C.J. Stroud in his return to the lineup for the Texans?
Yeah, right now Stroud is still dealing with concussion symptoms, which this is, I think, week 3 for him.
4.
Yeah. So, but prayers up to him. Hopefully he's just doing okay in general, but it does look like Davis Mills is going to get the start.
That was one of the hardest hits to the back of the head I've ever seen by a quarterback in the NFL. It was tough.
Yeah. So prayers up to Mr. Stroud. Davis Mills, complete statue. Keep him on the bench. We don't need to waste our time there. Woody Marks, we're going to give a bronze grade to. He's got 16 or more touches in 3 straight games.
Yeah.
Just 4 catches and 1 touchdown in that stretch does limit his upside a little bit. He's still splitting time with Nick Chubb, obviously. Yep. The floor is okay, though, due to volume, and the matchup isn't great. Indy does limit running back touches and rushing production, so I'm listing Marks as kind of an RB2, RB3 this week on that line. Nico Collins will go silver grade. Since Davis Mills took over for Stroud, Collins saw 11, 15, and 10 targets before a 3-target dud last week. Indy has allowed the 4th most catches to the position on the year. They've been hit hard by number 1 receivers in each of their past 2 weeks. 6, 104, and 1 to Drake London over in Europe, I believe. And then Rashee Rice, 8, 141 last week for the Chiefs. You can leave the rest of the Texans receiving core on the bench. And then
I really like this Jaden Higgins kid. He's coming on lately. There's something there.
Yes, he's frisky. I'm just a little worried with him and Hutchinson and Kirk and Jalen Noel. There's a lot of.
So Scott Fish and I highlighted it a little bit on the waiver wire episode this week, and Higgins has now scored in 2 of his last 3. The one he didn't score, and he was out at the 1-inch line, was ruled out of bounds, and he's had like 7 or 8 targets in just about every game. His snap counts are getting there. I think Higgins is primed to really take over that spot right now. So I admit that you could probably leave him on the bench this week. I think he should be rostered in just about every league right now.
No, that's a good call. I forget, is he because they have the 2 Iowa State receivers. Is he the big one or is he the small one?
He's the bigger one.
He's the bigger one. Okay. So the red zone option, the red zone opportunity does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just keep an eye out on Mr. Higgins then. And then Dalton Schultz, the tight end, we're going to throw a bronze grade at. Indy's been hit for the 6th most catches allowed and the 3rd most yards allowed to the position this year. Schultz has actually seen 8 targets per game over the last 4 as well. So he and Davis Mills are kind of finding a little connection there. As we flip over to the Colts side, Dan Dimes, we'll give him a bronze. It's obviously a tough matchup, but his floor keeps him startable. This Houston defense is the worst matchup in the league for opposing quarterbacks. No surprise there with Hunter and Anderson wrecking things. Top 5 in completions, passing yards, and passing touchdowns allowed is that Houston defense.
And they just shut down Josh Allen last week, basically, too.
Yeah, who a little better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah, just a bit.
Jones has still delivered, though, against tough competition this year. He went for 316 passing yards and a touchdown against Denver. Obviously, one of the best Ds in the league. And then 288 and 2 against the Chargers, who also have a very strong defense. So Daniel Dimes is still startable if you got him. Jonathan Taylor, one of the tougher spots of the year. Gold, platinum, vibranium, whatever your favorite.
Vibranium, okay.
Whatever your favorite fake metals.
Let's go to Wakanda, baby.
Start JT. The receivers, I'm going to bench Josh Downs and Alec Pierce, excuse me. In addition to being the best against quarterbacks this year, the Texans are also the toughest matchup for opposing receivers since Houston's week 6 bye. And keep in mind, we're in week 13 now. They've allowed 2 wide receivers to clear 50 yards.
Wow.
Khalil Shakir and JSN. None of these guys are JSN.
Yeah.
Maybe they're Khalil Shakir, but I'm not going to bet on it. Michael Pittman, I will throw a bronze to, as he's seen at least 8 targets in 4 of his last 5 matchups. And then Tyler Warren, we'll keep him going with a silver. Texans are a stingy tight end matchup, top 6 in catches, yards, and touchdowns allowed to the position. That said, if you have Warren and season long, you're starting him. He's still 3rd at the position in targets, catches, and yards. Every week start.
All right. That was quick and painless, Trevor.
I'm glad. Yeah, I think we did okay. I'll give my first one a bronze plus.
Oh, bronze
plus. That's not an alloy.
Wait a minute. That doesn't exist.
Super bronze.
All right. Real quick, we're going to head to a quick note from our friend Anthony Maggio, who's going to tell us about Game Blazers.
Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and it's one of the best football days of the season. Make it even better with Game Blazers, where you can win your share of $40,000 in prizes in free-to-play games. Game Blazers is where collecting beats gaming beats DFS. You rip packs, collect items to build your ultimate fantasy team, and set lineups in free rolls with cash prizes on the line every week. Game Blazers is giving away $750,000 in guaranteed prizes during the regular season, so every week is a big deal. And when you're not setting lineups, you can play free mini-games to earn XP and level up your GB Pass, which is a rewards pass that gives you boosts and bonuses just for using the app. Upgrade to the Premium GB Pass to earn more and even better rewards. Sign up now to get your free starter pack and use referral code FFAD for a free rare pack too, valued at $25. And once you're done with onboarding, there's a spend 5, get 50 offer where $5 gets you 2 more rare packs. Download the app today and learn more at GameBlazers.com.
Thank you, Anthony, and welcome back to Fantasy Football Almost Daily. You can find me, Matt Harrison, on Twitter at Explosive Output. Trevor is at TJones5, and Kent Weyrauch, holy smokes himself, is at Kent Weyrauch. It's spelled the ultra German way, Weyrauch.
Well, you don't think the crowd could figure that out for themselves?
I don't think they could.
No, that's
fair.
That's
it's
fair.
way easier to spell like something like Charchian. At least that's phonetic,
Yeah.
So we got that going for us. Hey, it's time for a segment we like to call Roll the Dice.
It's now time to roll the dice.
These are 9 players that might not be normally in your lineup, but you may want to roll the dice on them this week. We're going to start with the quarterback position. And Kent, who do you got?
I am going with Trevor Lawrence. He's playing against the Tennessee Titans. He's coming off a crazy game, 256 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So you got the whole Monty coming out of that game. But I think things will calm down a little bit this week against the Titans. Obviously, a little bit more control of an offense. And his rushing has been up lately since week 5. He's averaging 25 yards per game on the ground. He's got 5 total rushing touchdowns in that time frame too. So it's always nice to see that opportunity. The Titans have the 4th worst EPA per dropback allowed this season. They've given up 244 or more passing yards in 4 straight games, and they've allowed 2+ passing touchdowns in 4 of their last 5 games. They've also just caught 5 interceptions all season, which is tied for the 4th fewest. So that downside with those 3 interceptions we saw last week should be a little bit capped, hopefully, for Trevor Lawrence this week. And against rushing quarterbacks specifically, a couple of call-outs here. Justin Herbert went 9 for 57 and a touchdown. Drake May had 8 for 62, and Kyler Murray had 4 for 25 and a touchdown. So I think a guy like Lawrence, who can use his legs, should have an opportunity to maybe score 1 or 2 through the air and 1 on the ground this week.
Noted rushing quarterback Justin Herbert. Wow.
This year, he's, I think, the top or 2nd rushing quarterback.
That's crazy.
I know. That's just the facts, man.
Absolutely insane. We'll stay at the quarterback position. Trevor, who do you got to roll the dice on this week?
Yeah, we'll flip to the other side of that Tennessee-Jacksonville game. We'll go Cam Ward against the Jags. Jacksonville's an atrocious quarterback defense, like truly atrocious. We'll go 3 of the last 4 games here. Davis Mills, 292-2. Geno Smith, 284-4. Jacoby Brissett, 317-1. That's tough. Ward is also playing some of his best ball of the year recently. He put up 256 passing yards and a touchdown on Seattle, and then 194-1 through the air against Houston, which those are 2 of the probably top 5 defenses in the league. He's also been running a little bit more recently. He had 33 yards and 37 yards and a touchdown in those last 2 weeks. Cam Ward, also a real life good quarterback. I know we're talking fantasy. He is actually good. He's an okay quarterback. So just close your eyes, and then at the end of the day, you'll come out with 15 or 20 fantasy points.
All right. I'll trust you guys. It's worth noting that the two of you took 3 guys each from my matchups this week.
We wanted to make it easy for you.
And I tend to stick to, like, on the roll the dice segment, I tend to stick to my matchups. So that left me with Shedeur Sanders. I don't feel as good about it as your guys. He really didn't play overly well against Vegas last week. 66 of his 209 passing yards came on a behind the line of scrimmage screen pass to Dylan Sampson, who did the rest. But this is a great matchup against an injured and below average Niners pass defense. They've allowed the most completions, the second most passing yards, the 6th most passing scores, and maybe most importantly for Sanders, they've allowed the 4th fewest interceptions on the year. All right, let's go to the running back position. Kent, who do you got?
I'm going with Tyler Algier, playing against the New York Jets in, well, not New York, but New Jersey. So, anyway, he is the TD vulture of all TD vultures. If you're a Bijan Robinson fan, you know, Tyler Algier is a fine running back by himself, but he does have 7 touchdowns to Bijan's 4 this season. And inside the 10, he has 14 rushing attempts to Bijan's 9 attempts and 2 targets. So he's out touching him in the red zone. He is a game script dependent running back, so he gets more opportunities in wins and losses, where he has 13.5 attempts per game in wins and just 5 in losses. So a game against the New York Jets, who are hapless right now, is probably a good opportunity for Algier to get some run. They Jets are 27th in explosive rushing plays allowed. So not only is he going to have opportunity, but he could break a few big ones. And opposing offenses have run on them 49.3% of the time, which is 3rd most in the league. So they are giving up a lot of yards, and then also 12 rushing touchdowns. They're tied 8th most in the league, 7 of which were in the last 4 weeks. So they've really, since the loss of Quinnen Williams has been a big factor there, they've been giving up a lot of points to the running backs.
Yeah. All right. I like that one. Trevor, who do you got at your running back to roll the dice?
Yeah, I'll pair your Shedeur Sanders with Dylan Sampson, rookie running back for the Browns here against San Francisco. Quinshon Judkins is likely out with the concussion that he suffered on Sunday. Sampson dominated the non-Judkins running back snaps last week when he went out. The rookie saw 9 touches, including all the running back pass work, compared to Jerome Ford's 1 touch. Sampson did flash the explosiveness with the aforementioned 66-yard touchdown, in which he did all of the work. And 4 of their last 5 games, also the Niners have been getting destroyed by opposing running backs, giving up 7, 5, 11, and 8 catches in those games. And Sampson was the pass game back even when Judkins was healthy. And I'd also note Judkins was used in the red zone in a wildcat formation a number of times. I think he scored both of his touchdowns off of those last week. So if they still go with that package, it'll be likely Dylan Sampson or Jerome Ford there.
All right. My roll the dice running back is Kenneth Gainwell. Touch totals last week. What Gainwell?
Great. No, Kenneth.
All right. Why do you go by Kent if you're Kenneth? Why don't you go by Ken?
Oh, it's a lot easier to say. One less syllable.
We call it Kenny. I mean, that's
I
fun.
just quoted the syllables, man.
Fine. All right. Touch totals were 18-16 last week in favor of Jaylen Warren, who I like a lot in this game as well, but that's a pretty close split. It's worth noting that Gainwell had more yards, 92-68 on the ground last week, and he caught 6 balls for 30 yards where Warren wasn't targeted at all. This week it's the Bills. They might be one of the worst run defenses in the league. I think they're probably 2nd worst, maybe only behind the Giants. 5.2 yards per carry, 2nd worst in the league. 118 rushing yards per game, 3rd most in the league. 14 rushing scores to running backs. That's the most in the league. There's enough to go around for the runners this week, and Gainwell, I think, can get his too. All right, wide receiver or tight end position. Kent, who you got? Kenny, who you got?
Ken, don't call me Kenny, man. I feel like I'm going to die by the end of the episode. All right, I'm going with John Mechie III against the Atlanta Falcons. Speaking of the hapless Jets, I do think you can get some value out of Mechie. He's really stepped up for them in the last 2 weeks, with Garrett Wilson being on IR. He's caught 9 of his 10 targets in that stretch for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. A.D. Mitchell has been putting on a clinic for how to not catch the football. He had 185 air yards to Mechie's 33, but just this last week, but that could shift considering Mechie has been actually catching his passes. The Falcons will likely put A.J. Terrell, their top cornerback, on A.D. Mitchell to match size because both of those players are 6'2", where Mechie is just 5'11". So they'll need the size on Mitchell, even though he has been struggling. Cornerback Mike Hughes, we're familiar with him around here. He missed weeks 10 and 11 with a neck injury, and then was targeted 6+ times in 5 games, his last 5 games played. Last week, he was targeted 10 times, allowing 5 receptions for 50 yards in coverage. So I think John Mechie, just kind of like the lone guy who can do some work for them on the Jets. I think it's a good spot.
Yeah, I think he's definitely the top wide receiver option for New York the rest of the way. Trevor, who do you got at the receiver position?
Yeah, we're actually going to flex it to tight end here with Gunnar Helm, the Titans rookie against Jacksonville. Yeah, Matt was on this one last week on the DFS show that paid off. So listen to that show. But this is, pick on the Jacksonville tight end defense. They're atrocious. Bottom 6 in catches, yards, and touchdowns allowed to the position. Honestly, the only allowing 9 for 79 to Trey McBride last week is kind of a win. I mean, I played him at DFS, and I was a little bit disappointed by his stats there. The Titans rookie Helm does have 10 catches over the past 2 weeks, and he led the team in targets in week 12. Tennessee is just beat to all hell at receiver. No Calvin Ridley, no Iomanor. Right now, the 3 receiver sets are Van Jefferson, Chimray DK, who's a rookie, and James Prochet, an 8th-year veteran who hasn't. I think he has 6 snaps or 6 catches.
And Xavier
Restrepo, who runs like a 4.92 40. So yeah, it really should be a lot of work to the tight ends, and Gunnar Helm's a real player.
Gunnar Helm is a real player.
Sorry, he's a real player. Yeah, as soon as I said that, he's an actual quality NFL player.
Okay, there we go. Another one is a guy who I've poo-pooed a little too much on this show the past few weeks. That's poo-poo Parker Washington. Kent like Trevor Lawrence, so I like his slot receiver, Parker Washington. He's going to match up with backup slot corner Marcus Harris, who he's definitely a real person. I don't know if he's as good as Gunnar Helm, but he's definitely a real guy. Last week, he wasn't Harris wasn't targeted too much in his coverage, but the week before, the Texans just picked on him mercilessly, and he allowed a passer rating of 132 in his coverage. And that was the game where he played 50 snaps. He's only played another 70 snaps the rest of the season. He's really a backup to a backup here. Yeah. So overall, the Titans have allowed the 5th most yards this season to wide receivers. Parker Washington is my favorite of the Jags wide receivers, and that's with Brian Thomas Jr. likely coming back in this one. So, all right, we're going to pop back over to the matchups, and we're going to go to the Falcons and Jets. These boys mowed my lawn on a few of these guys here during Roll the Dice, but on the Falcons side, we'll mention Tyler Algier was Kent's Roll the Dice running back, and for a lot of the same reasons he likes Algier, you got to like Bijan too. He's got to be in a good spot too. After the Quinn and Williams trade, the Jets have allowed a 32 PPR point day to Travion and a 22 PPR point day to Derrick Henry. So it's a gold grade for Bijan. Kirk Cousins is on the bench. The good news, the Jets have not intercepted a ball all season. That's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe.
But I feel like I need to Google that, right? Like that seems insane.
They had Sauce Gardner for most of the season. They have no interceptions. The bad news, they're top 8 in basically every stat against the pass. Lamar only managed 153 pass yards last week. That seems like a probable amount for Kirk Cousins, so he's on the bench. And so if you're targeting like 153 yards for Cousins, this is gross for the rest of the passing game. Drake London has been labeled week to week with a PCL sprain. Most of the time, this injury keeps you down for a few weeks. At this time, I say it's pretty unlikely that London goes, but let's say he does. It's a pretty similar matchup to the Saints last week, and Cousins only threw the ball 23 times, and only 9 of those, I hit the 9 times button, only 9 of them went to wide receivers. So even if London miraculously goes, I'd leave him on the bench this week, along with Darnell Mooney, who did catch all 3 of his targets last week. He did get 74 yards and a score, including, I think, a 49-yard touchdown in there. But I don't know if the Cousins or the Falcons have to really chuck it that deep in this one. So both of those guys are on the bench. Kyle Pitts led the team last week with targets. He had 5 of them last week, but he only caught 2 of them for 25 yards. And it just doesn't feel like there's enough meat on the bone here for the Falcons passing game. The Jets are top 10 in receptions, yards, and yards allowed to the tight ends, but they've allowed 7 touchdowns this year, which is kind of a lot. So you're asking Pitts, a notoriously low touchdown producer, to produce a touchdown in this one to return value. That doesn't line up right. So I'm leaving Pitts on the bench too. Breece Hall is a bell cow right now, 20 touches and 119 combo yards last week. That included 4 catches for 75 yards through the air. The Falcons are allowing 140 combo yards and about a touchdown per game. That's all Breece Hall in this one, so I've got him as a gold starter. Tyrod Taylor, I can get to a bronze on. I highlighted this last week. The Falcons gave up 155 yards per game through the air in the first 7 weeks. Since then, 282 yards per game. It's almost doubled. Taylor should be able to cobble together mid 200s and a score, and that's bronze worthy in my book. John Mechie was Kent's roll the dice wide receiver, and I think that he's at least worthy of a bronze grade here. Mason Taylor's the only other receiver you'd consider here, but I'm going to leave him on the bench. The Falcons have been awesome against the tight end. They've only allowed 1 touchdown to the position on the season, and they've given up the 2nd fewest catches and the 4th fewest yards. So there's just no meat on the bone for Mason Taylor here. He's on the bench. We'll flip over to the Rams and Panthers, and the Rams look pretty unstoppable right now, Kent. I imagine even with a pair of tough Panthers cornerbacks, I got to think that you're still pretty confident in Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have the leading MVP candidate on this team in Matt Stafford right now. He's a must-start status. It's 2+ passing touchdowns in 9 of his last 11 games. There's really not much to think about with Stafford right now. I'm not too worried about the tougher cornerbacks on the Panthers just because their ability to spread the ball around has been working very, very well. They don't need to lean on Puka anymore with Adams in the fold. So, let's talk about those guys real quick. I got Puka and Adams at silver grades here, and Matt Stafford, I don't know if I mentioned, was gold just for the options. But Puka gets a silver. He's caught 7 of 11 targets last week for 97 yards against Tampa Bay, something he hadn't reached double-digit targets in a few weeks prior to that. So always nice to see him bounce back in terms of the volume. He's trailed Adams in routes for the last 6 games and air yards for the last 7 games. So he has kind of taken a back seat in some regards to Devontae Adams, which is understandable. Adams is an awesome wide receiver. So not much to shake the tail at.
I think Puka's rib injury was a lot more serious than they let on to. Yeah. And I think that they've been keeping the kid gloves on him and taking it easy with him the last month.
Yeah, for sure. And, in the last month, he's had just 3 red zone targets as well, which is capping his upside in terms of touchdowns unless they're longer. Carolina's the 13th lowest EPA per dropback allowed. They've allowed the 4th least explosive passing plays too. So you hope they just march up the field and get their regimented touchdowns. But Devontae Adams has been more trustworthy in that regard. He gets a silver as well. The pay dirt paragon continues. He was 5 of 8 targets for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. Since week 7, Devontae Adams has 9 touchdowns, which is more than
9 times.
Thank you. Which is more than 19 NFL teams. I'm pausing for effect there because that's honestly incredible. His 26 red zone targets on the season is 6 higher than second place in Amon-Ra St. Brown. His upside in this matchup is capped by yardage. He's just got 1 game higher than 88 yards this season, and the Carolina cornerbacks, like you mentioned, are tougher. So we'll keep that upside capped a little bit, but he's been so good in the end zone, red zone area. So Colby Parkinson, you might be interested. He's got 3 straight games with a touchdown. I'm benching him. I'm just not really interested in the target totals and some of the yardage he's got there. Kyron Williams, he gets a silver. 13 opportunities this last week is his new lowest all season from last week, which was his new lowest last week. So he's gone the downward trend in terms of opportunities. Blake Corum has been eating into them quite a bit recently. 48 scrimmage yards this last week was also a new season low for him as well. So, this is a decent matchup on the defense side, which is why he gets the silver. Carolina has allowed the 8th most fantasy points to running backs, the 6th most rushing yards to running backs, and they are 26th in explosive rushing plays allowed in the last month, including 3 straight games where the opposing running back has had 22 plus rushing attempts. So if he gets that kind of volume, he's just playable. He's got the touchdown upside, but because his offense is moving well, but can't get much higher than that.
Yeah. All right.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, swinging on over to the Carolina side of things.
Tell me more about the Panthers. Is Rico Dowdle something?
He is something. We're not sure what it is because he's been kind of up and down this season. His role has been reduced recently. 65% of snaps this last week, just 6 rushing attempts and 4 targets for 74 scrimmage yards, which was nice, but we're a few weeks away from those truly explosive games he had. I'm giving him a bronze in this game. He is still out touching Chuba Hubbard in the red zone the last 2 weeks, which is one of the reasons I still like him. He's got 12 opportunities to Hubbard's 3, so the touch touchdown potential is there. And the Los Angeles Rams are a tough matchup. They've allowed the second fewest fantasy points to running backs, the seventh fewest explosive rushing plays allowed in the last month, and no running back has had more than 67 rushing yards against them since week 6. So if he does get going, I'm not expecting too much going on there. And then Chuba Hubbard gets the bench grade. He's the second fiddle in this running back room now, and he's going to stay there until things change. So Bryce Young, he returned to earth from his week 11 explosion. He went 18 of 29 for 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions against a very depleted and beat up 49ers defense. So he's going to get a bench grade here. The Rams are obviously very good. 7th least fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks and the 7th fewest explosive plays allowed in the last month. Teteroa McMillan, he gets a startable bronze grade. He's got 7+ targets in the last 3 games. But last week, he just caught 2 passes for 35 yards and a score, which is nice, but it's kind of hard to rely on that. He will see an Emmanuel Forbes shadow, who's been up and down the season, but last week he allowed 0 catches on 7 targets as the nearest defender. So he's playing well right now and could be a tougher matchup for McMillan. Jatavian Sanders, don't even think about it. Keep him on the bench. And I'm not interested in anyone else.
That's
so
great analysis
grades,
on Jatavian Sanders. That's about all you need to really mention.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Kent. I wanted to remind everybody that today's show brought to you by Game Blazers. Try Game Blazers this week to win your share of $40,000 in prizes in free-to-play contests. Sign up with the referral code FFAD for a free starter pack and a free rare pack. And if you're not familiar with what Game Blazers is, it's like card collecting and Madden Ultimate Team, and you mix in fantasy with it. It's super fun. I've been playing in our internal contests and having a great time with it. And by the way, if you spend $5 after you use that promo code, they'll give you 2 more rare packs of $50 value. So download the Game Blazers app today. Trevor, the Saints and the Dolphins are playing this week. And I just looked in the private chat, and Scott Fish entered the private chat on our back end here and said, Tua versus the Saints gonna cook. So can you tell me more about Tua versus the Saints?
Sure. Okay. Well, Fish, I appreciate you setting me up to
changing his grade on the fly. Yep. No, I'm just kidding.
Nope. I'm gonna stick with. I'm gonna go against Scott Fish. Right? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Right?
Know what he's talking about.
He hasn't been in the fantasy industry forever. So yeah, I'm actually gonna bench Tua this week. Sorry,
I love
Scott. We can fight it out. Yeah, we'll see who wins on the next week. But Tua has just 41 combined passing attempts over the past 2 weeks.
That's not much.
You can't do it. That's nothing. They played really slow pace too. It's just they're not getting plays off. Divine Achan, shout out to the listeners. A lot of good feedback with Platinum and Diamond and Vibranium. And if you got so I don't know. We'll go through uranium play for Divine Achan.
He's radioactive.
He is radioactive. if anyone else touches him, it's they just die. So no, but Achan's been shouldering a massive workload. Past 4 games, 23, 20, 28, 26 touches. That's huge. In the passing game specifically, he has at least 5 catches in 4 straight. Again, that's closer to sort of mini CMC, right? This lines up perfectly against a New Orleans defense that's allowed the 4th most running back touches to opposing backs this year. You're firing Achan up with confidence. Jalen Waddle, going to give him a silver grade. New Orleans is 24th in EPA against the pass this year and has allowed the 7th most touchdowns to the position. Waddle's been good, not great recently, with at least 5 catches and 80 yards in 3 of his last 4 games. He's only crossed 100 yards once this year, so I don't know what the ceiling is, especially if Tua's not going to throw it that much, but he's a quality option. I mean, he is the passing game for them, him and Achan right now. And I'm keeping everybody else on the bench. Malik Washington, who's Darren Waller's backup now?
I don't
know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Exactly. And that's it. Yeah, it's kind of a Saints Dolphins, not a ton of.
You don't have anybody on the Saints?
Oh, I had the Dolphins. Sorry, I had the Dolphins listed second. I was like,
I probably screwed you up by the lead.
Well, the Saints are.
You know what? I blame Scott Fish.
To be fair, the Saints are barely an NFL team.
And Fish said, not like a gold grade, like a C grade, but I don't know what a C grade is for Tua.
Scott, so you can take Fish's bronze or my don't touch him.
Okay.
Yeah. On the Saints side, we'll go Tyler Shuck, keep him on the bench. It's a decent matchup. He just hasn't produced. He had 43 pass attempts last week, could only manage 240 yards. Just not a fantasy option really for us right now in season long. Chris Olave will give a silver grade to. Shuck has been good news for Chris Olave. Since Shook took over, Olave's got 38 targets in his last 4 games. Alvin Kamara is unlikely to play, leaving the Saints with 1.5 goods. Or
Kamara's out, I think, pretty much for the rest of the year.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's Devin Neal time.
It is. Yeah. Well, we'll get to Mr. Neal in a second here. So yeah, the Saints only have Olave and maybe Juwan Johnson's kind of a half good skill position player. Yeah. Olave's floor has been strong all year long, clearing 11 PPR points in all but 1 game.
Mm-hmm.
Miami does play well against opposing receivers, but just again, Olave's volume and the pass game runs through him that keeps him viable. I will throw a dart here at Devon Vele. It's a kind of an additional roll the dice type play here. He leads the team in receiver snaps the past 2 weeks. They did trade a 4th-round pick for him.
I was gonna say they traded for him. They got to use him at some point.
If you're super desperate, if you're in a start the worst receivers in the league kind of league, then Devon's
I gotta start one of those leagues next year.
we do. Devin Neal, let's get to him. The rookie. We're gonna give him a bronze this week with Kamara out. Neal was the only back to get touches without Kamara last week. I will note Taysom Hill had 10 carries, so clearly that was part of the rushing production.
Okay.
Fell to him. Miami is bottom 8 against rushing yards and receiving yards allowed to the position. The only other backs on the roster are Audric Estime, who I didn't know was on the Saints until I did the research for this pod, and then Evan Hull, who was a 6th-round pick 22 years ago. So yeah, Devin Neal should get most of the work that's available to the Saints.
That is, of all the running back rooms, that is one.
The fact
one
that,
of the 32.
The fact that Taysom Hill might end up being the starting running back for the Saints after being a starting quarterback and a starting tight end.
I'm just
for the
resigned
Saints.
to that idea already.
What is happening here?
And then we'll got one guy left here, Juwan Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give a bronze to as well. The Dolphins are bottom 10 against catches, yards, and tight ends allowed to the tight end position. Juwan's actually had double-digit PPR points in 5 straight games. So the ceiling isn't there, but again, for tight ends, if you can get double-digit points, that's a win every time.
Yeah, if you're in the tight end wasteland, you can play with Juwan Johnson. That's for sure. All right, let's go over to the Jaguars and Titans. And you guys covered a bunch of the starters in this game during the roll the dice segment. Trevor Lawrence was Kent's roll the dice quarterback. Parker Washington was my roll the dice receiver. And they think Brian Thomas Jr. might return this week if he can get a full practice in on his injured ankle. But here's the deal. When Thomas was healthy, he wasn't good. Only 1 touchdown on the year, only hit 80 yards in 2 of 8 games. And he was averaging 7.5 targets per game. So the target load was there. That should be enough to get it done more than that. And now Jacoby Myers is there too. And he's getting more acclimated to the offense. And he looked okay. He had 6 targets in back-to-back weeks and he scored last week. There's room for all of them to eat in this matchup, but I can only limp to a bronze grade on both Brian Thomas Jr. and Jacoby Myers. I think I'd rather leave both on the bench and roll with Parker Washington, though, if I had to pick one Jags receiver. Brenton Strange was the focal point of the passing game last week. He led the team in receptions with 5, and he led the team in yards with 93. The Titans don't get challenged a lot by tight ends, though. They only allowed 3 touchdowns to the position all year. Tyler Warren's stat line a few weeks back was 5 targets, 4 catches, 53 yards. That seems kind of in line with the high end of what Brenton Strange could do this week, and that's 9 PPR points. Is that good enough for a bronze? Probably not, but you're right kind of on the border.
Not without any buys this week, right? Yeah, most people should have their top tight end.
Yeah, that's true. Travis Etienne gets a gold grade.
It's gold, Jerry. Gold!
It's gold, Jerry. Gold. Just like half of their old two-tone helmets, Travis Etienne's getting the gold grade. 18 touches, 116 yards and a score last week, and it's a Titans team that allowed the 7th most rushing yards and 15 total touchdowns to the position so far. Bashal Tutin only comes in blowouts. This could be one. If you're totally desperate, there's worse options than Bashal Tutin this week. I'd still leave him on the bench, but if you're like down a whole bunch of injured guys or something like that and he's on the wire, I don't mind Bashal Tutin here. You can't start either Titans running back. But if you are in a league that requires you to start a Tennessee running back, it would be Spears over Pollard. The Jags are a top 3 run defense in the league, but they have allowed the 9th most receiving yards to opposing back. And Spears catches a lot more passes than Pollard, but please don't start either. Cam Ward was Trevor's roll the dice quarterback, and Gunnar Helm was his receiver. And that's it for the Titans. You're not going to start Chimere DK or Xavier Restrepo, who are both real people, and the probable starting receivers for the Titans this week. So that's it. No more Titans. That's it. Bye. Bills and Steelers are going to play next. Kent, the Bills are heading to Pittsburgh. We know Josh Allen is locked in. Is he a gold grade, though, after a disappointing week last week?
He is a double platinum rock opera grade. He's in a good spot because he just lost to the Davis Mills-led Texans, and he is looking to scorch earth on some random team that's in his way, and that's going to be the Steelers this week.
By the way, Kent, I should ask, this is the highest over-under of the Sunday games. Is this the Yukon Cornelius game of the week?
This should be the Yukon Cornelius game.
It's rich with gold.
I love it. Despite his interception problems in recent history, 5 in the last 3 weeks, he's still been a top 12 quarterback in 4 of his last 5 games. I mean, he's Josh Allen. You know what he's good for. He's going against a Pittsburgh defense that has allowed the 7th most fantasy points to quarterbacks, and they are 31st in explosive passing plays allowed in the last month. I have a feeling Josh Allen is going to uncork a few to take down the Steelers defense handily. He's going to be throwing the ball to Khalil Shakir, who's been good lately. He gets a silver grade, caught 8 of 10 targets last week for 110 yards against that tough Texans defense. And he's had 7 or more targets in 4 of his last 5 games. Last week, the Pittsburgh Steelers got torched through the slot. The Bears wide receiver room in combination went 6 for 7 for 103 yards and a touchdown out of the slot. And Shakir runs 72% of his snaps from there. So I think he's in a good spot this week. Sounds like we may have Dalton Kincaid. That's still kind of a question mark at this point. So not sure. If he does play, I'll give him a bronze grade. He's been one of the most efficient tight ends in the league when he does play, but those hamstrings can be very annoying. The Steelers do allow the 5th most fantasy points to tight ends. So they even let Colston Loveland go 4 for 5 for 49 and a score last week. So Dalton Kincaid could easily upgrade those numbers if he does suit up. If he doesn't, Dawson Knox, I want to leave on the bench. He's just not getting the same workload that Kincaid's been getting when he's been out. And then James Cook, he's getting gold here as well. He's 3rd in rush attempts this year, 2nd in rushing yards, tied for 5th in rushing touchdowns, and he has 3 straight games with 3+ targets too. So he's just been getting the volume that you need to see in a top-tier running back, and you just run him against everyone right now.
Absolutely.
On the Steelers side of things, Aaron Rodgers, bench grade. Last week, he had 116 yards and 1 touchdown against a very good defense, the Bengals. No, that's wrong. They're terrible. Why did he only have 116 yards? This offense has
because his non-throwing wrist was hurting.
Well, yeah, there's that. I suppose that's a good point. He could miss this game as well. And if he does, Mason Rudolph also gets a bench grade.
It sounds like they're theorizing that he will be back for this.
That's what I kind of thought. So even if he does suit up, I'm just not interested against the Buffalo defense. Jaylen Warren, I will give a bronze grade to. We talked about him a little bit earlier.
Really?
Yeah.
If it were me, I'd be giving him a gold grade.
Would you really?
Honestly.
Okay.
Because Buffalo's run defense is horrible.
The only
I was going to say something worse that rhymed with Morse kit.
All right. So, so I'll lay out a few reasons why I might disagree a little bit here. Last week was the only time he was not targeted at all this season, and he's run 11 or fewer routes in the last 3 weeks. So reception floor has been something that Jaylen Warren has relied on for quite a bit in his career. The Buffalo defense, like you said, they're very good against are very lenient to opposing running backs. But yeah, in the last 2 weeks in the red zone, Gainwell has 9 opportunities to Jaylen Warren's 3. So that touchdown potential is a little bit capped. And then I'll give Gainwell the silver. He was your roll the dice player. I do like him more than Warren in this matchup. DK Metcalf, bronze, I guess. I mean, 7+ targets in the last 3 games, but he hasn't topped 5 receptions or 49 receiving yards. He's had just 1 red zone target in that period with 0 touchdowns. Cornerback Christian Benford is likely to shadow him. He has not been playing as well as he has in years past. 4 touchdowns and 117 passer rating allowed in coverage. So that's not the worst thing in the world, but he has been good at times. So I guess you can start Metcalf, but don't feel great about it. And then, as usual, all the tight ends, I feel like they have 100 of them. Don't play any of them. You never know which one's going to get the ball.
Yeah, and randomly Freiermuth last week.
Yeah,
and
but how do you know when it's
before against Cincy, and he did nothing.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would add that Dalton Kincaid, Sean McDermott says, will not practice Wednesday.
Will not.
No.
So
not a great sign.
Sounds like Kincaid's heading for the out designation.
Yep. They're going to bench it for me.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's talk to Maj again, and he's going to tell you a little bit about Fanball.
If you're bringing 5-figure bags to the party each week, Fanball probably isn't for you. If you're gunning for a spot on the Roto Grinders top 50 DFS rankings, Fanball probably isn't for you either. So who is Fanball for? Fanball is DFS built for fans who have a life outside of sports but still enjoy a good sweat. And at Fanball, you can still 20, 50, or even 100x your entry fee. Every week of the NFL season has 3 feature tournaments. The Peacock is the headliner with 1K to first and just $20 to play. For another contest that slaps, try the High Five with $400 to first and just $5 to enter. And of course, there's Buck Hunter, where $1 gives you a shot at the $100 top prize. And if you want a little more on the line, you can find up to $100 NFL double-ups and $50 winner-take-alls. So register today at Fanball to get in on the fun and use promo code ALMOST for an up to $20 deposit match.
Now it's time for a segment we like to call Two Tough Nuts.
It's time for 2 Tough Nuts.
Let's see if my co-host can solve my 2 tough nuts to crack. And yeah, that's what they're going to try to do. Those of you at home who want to try to play along with my 2 tough nuts, make sure you do so safely. Sorry, Trevor.
No, you're the best, Matt. This is why you're the best. Well done.
If Max Brosmer starts for the Vikings in Seattle, and it looks like he will, if the passing results are similar to what happened with J.J. McCarthy, is it time to sabotage drop Justin Jefferson on Sunday evening in redraft leagues? We'll start with Trevor.
Yeah, just if you're on the video broadcast here, shout out Max.
Okay.
Go for football. Let's
yeah.
get it. No, I'm going to go for 2 reasons. I'm going to say no.
Okay.
First, it's over for J.J. McCarthy.
It's over?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Spoken as a true Packer fan, Trevor.
At least on like this version of the Vikings. He ranks 851st out of 852 players in EPA per dropback among qualified passers since 2000.
Wait, what?
Yes.
The only player below is Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we are.
Hey, man, he was a first overall pick.
That's true. No, that is true. Yeah, I'm a go for season ticket holder. I saw Max up close for 13 games last year. Max right now is just a better quarterback than JJ. I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying he's better. He's accurate, smart, more than capable of running an NFL offense. He ran all the checks and protections for the Gophers last year. I kind of assume he has a better understanding of the offense than JJ does right now, just based on the play. It's just tough. Second, the other reason, though, is Seattle's defense is one of the best units in the league. So no shame for a first-game rookie to struggle on the road in that spot, which would obviously lead Jefferson to probably struggle as well. However, after this, Minnesota catches an incredible stretch. They make the NFC least tour against Washington, Dallas, and the Giants in the next 3, who are all bottom 5 in scoring defense. I'm holding Justin Jefferson.
Okay. Kent, is it time to sabotage drop Justin Jefferson this Sunday night?
I agree. I won't be as harsh in my wording as my co-host here, but Justin Jefferson in 3 last 4 weeks, he's had 9+ targets. He's running a 34% clip, a target share, which is good for 4th in the league among wide receivers. And he's got 44% of the end zone targets, which is good for 6th in the league. So yeah, variance right now is kind of a B word, but good things will happen with that usage regardless of how bad your quarterback is. And, I know you're saying if Brosmer is as good as J.J. McCarthy, but I do think there's a pretty good shot that he's better. So, I'm holding him.
I don't think you guys understand what the sabotage drop is. You want other people to come to the waiver wire and pick up these guys and spend a lot of money. And the fact that the Vikings are down to their 3rd string quarterback and hoping that he's better than their 1st string quarterback, that's just bad for the whole offense. It doesn't even matter what Brosmer does unless he throws for like 300 yards and 3 scores, because it's probably McCarthy in the Commanders game. But let's just be real. It's probably going back to J.J. McCarthy in the next game. And those matchups are fantastic. You're both right about that. But those fantastic matchups make it so people will want to pick up Justin Jefferson and put him in their starting lineup on their playoff roster. This is a high-level thought. You sabotage drop Justin Jefferson, and you hope a playoff team picks him up, because that playoff team is not going to win the championship.
That's some real galaxy brain right there.
Yeah.
But maybe you're onto something.
But if you dropped him and then you played against him in the playoffs and he drops 102 on you,
sure,
that's gonna hurt way worse than any other player, brother. I mean, what talents are there above Justin Jefferson in terms of receiver right now, even removing the quarterback play?
I can't disagree with you.
That must be the highest profile sabotage drop of all time.
I can only look at the numbers.
Okay.
And JJ McCarthy's probably going to be back next week. And those numbers with Justin Jefferson are dog S.
I would say that McCarthy finished the game and now is on concussion protocol. Stinks of we're soft benching him more than it's an actual concussion.
Well,
That's my only thought. Because you're right, though. I mean,
it's a lost season for the Vikings. They probably need to see, does
what you got
JJ
left?
have anything in the tank, or are we picking a quarterback in the top 10 of the draft next year?
If they do want him to work out, they need to play him.
Yeah,
I mean, that's obvious.
All right. Tough nut number 2. Who is the most important handcuff in the league for your fantasy playoff run? And we'll start with Kent on this one.
Yeah, this one was tough. I thought about it for a little while, and I think my answer is Tank Bigsby. In the 2 games that he's played, 60+% of the snaps for the Jaguars, now with the Eagles. He had 22 attempts, 2 targets per game, 99 scrimmage yards, and a touchdown. The playoff schedule for the Eagles, which is, I think, the most enticing reason, is the Las Vegas Raiders, the Washington Commanders, and the Buffalo Bills. 3 very susceptible teams on the ground. If for whatever reason, Barkley's coming off like a huge amount of touches last year. He's still been getting run a lot this year, less efficient, but he's still getting those touches. If an injury were to happen, Tank Bigsby steps into league winning category.
All right, Trevor, the most important handcuff in the league for your fantasy playoff run.
Yeah, I didn't think about Tank Bigsby, but that's a good one, especially because they gave up real draft capital.
Yeah,
and he's iced A.J. Dillon and Will Shipley. I didn't think about that. That's a good one, though. I went kind of maybe the chalk answer, I thought. Brian Robinson, backup for the San Francisco 49ers. Christian McCaffrey is on pace for 422 touches this year. He already has 298, which will be like a top 5 mark by the end of the season, through 12 games here. Robinson is literally the only other running back option for San Francisco. He has 71 touches on the year. He's the only running back besides CMC with a touch that's on the roster. Kyle Juszczyk has a handful of catches.
What happened to Isaac Guerrendo? Where'd he go?
Man, Isaac Guerrendo, Joe Williams. Think of all the just like mid-round draft capital they flushed. With how much Shanahan wants to use one back too. If you see Jordan Mason last year without CMC weeks 1 to 4, he averaged nearly 25 touches. And that's a guy that the Vikings have been a little reluctant to really giddy up with. And so Shanahan just wants to use the one back. And then their fantasy playoff schedule is the Titans, Colts, and Bears weeks 15 and 17. Titans and Bears, those are A+ matchups. I think it's Brian Robinson.
Okay. Those are both very good answers, guys.
But not the answer.
But only one of you got it correct.
Oh.
And it was Kent. It is Tank Bigsby. There was a guy I respected a lot on another fantasy show that I was on back in the day. He was just in love with Tank Bigsby, and he's the correct answer. Saquon hasn't been good this year, and whether that's mileage or fatigue or injury or some combo of all of the above, if Saquon were to have a dip anymore or get hurt, Bigsby has looked awesome in small doses this year. I think he'd get a bell cow role, and Kent said it. The Eagles have a great schedule the rest of the way. After the Black Friday game with the Bears, Chargers, Raiders, those are neutral, and Commanders, bottom 5 in your fantasy semis, and Buffalo Bills, they're the second worst run defense in the league in your fantasy championship. Tank Bigsby, a guy, if he's on the waiver wire right now, even if you're not handcuffing him to Saquon, you should pick him up and block somebody else from getting him.
All right, adding to my resume, cracked one of Matt's tough nuts.
You did. Those were my 2 tough nuts. We're going to get back to the matchups here, and we're going to start with the Vikings and the Seahawks. Trevor, the Vikings are heading to Seattle. They're playing Sam Darnold, a familiar face, and the Seahawks. And Max Brosmer is probably going to start. Can you trust any part of the Vikings offense against the tough Seattle D?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yes, Max. I love you, Max. Good luck, buddy. But you are on the bench this week. At Seattle on your first start, that's tough. Vikings have the lowest team total on the week. Skip that. Aaron Jones, I will give a bronze to. Jones retook the lead back role from Jordan Mason after returning from injury. His averaged 13.5 touches over the last 4 games. Just 1 touchdown in that stretch, and Jordan Mason isn't going away with nearly 8 touches a game himself over that stretch. Seattle's top 3 in rushing yards and touchdowns allowed, but they are bottom 5 in receptions and receiving yards allowed to enemy backs. That's Aaron Jones's role. Max Brosmer loves throwing the check down. I don't know if I can like stress how much he loves playing check down.
Nobody's watched more Max Brosner than you have.
Darius Taylor, who's currently the Gophers' starting running back last year, led the Big Ten in catches for a running back with 54.
Okay.
Really sneaky DFS play for Aaron Jones here too. I think he's 5,100 on FanBall. We'll go over to Justin Jefferson here, who some of us think maybe shouldn't be on your fantasy roster.
Don't drop him right now.
Wait, yes. All right.
You gotta wait till it's waiver wire worthy to drop Justin Jefferson.
So I'm gonna give Jefferson a silver this week. I almost kind of think the stats that I could throw out here are irrelevant just based on JJ McCarthy. You can't get the ball to receivers, and Max can. JJ did have 7 straight weeks with at least 9 targets until last week. Clearly wildly frustrated. Max is good enough to bring competence to the passing game. I mean, you see some of these JJ he's sitting on the out route and it's open and it just gets missed. And Max, I think, can hit, a couple of those that JJ's missing right now. So really going from maybe like kind of all-time bad quarterback to play to just mildly below average, I think should stabilize JJ's fantasy value. I think we're keeping Jordan Addison on the bench this week. Just 5 targets a game over his last 5 games, 10 total catches. I like Max. I don't know that he's good enough to support 2 fantasy receivers, so I'm gonna.
And the matchup's
How
really
reasonable
difficult.
of you.
Yeah.
We give the Packer fan the Vikings matchup, and he's like, "Woo, let's go Vikings!"
We'll round it out here with TJ Hawkinson. We'll keep him on the bench as well. If there is one weakness on Seattle's defense, it is the tight end. They allowed the 3rd most catches and 4th most yards. He's only broken double-digit PPR points just twice this year. Keep him on the bench until we see kind of what his rapport is with Max. And then if I can get, there we go, Sam Darnold to pop up. We'll go to the Seahawks side. Sam Darnold revenge game.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that's good. I don't know if it's good for Sam to have more on his mind than he normally does when playing football. I feel like that's kind of where he runs into issues. So we're going to give him a bronze grade.
Okay.
It's a tough matchup against the Vikings defense, top 10 in passing yards and touchdowns allowed. Darnold's only attempted more than 27 passes in 4 games and hit the 300-yard mark only twice. But they do have a top 5 Vegas team total on the week. Darnold's floor has been really solid, just 2 games below 200 passing yards and only 2 without a touchdown.
Okay.
Kind of a low-end QB1 this week. Ken Walker also giving a bronze to. He's got at least 10 carries in every game this year, only 1 touchdown since week 4. The issue is that Zach Charbonnet also has double-digit touches in all but 2 of his games, so they're really kind of canceling each other out. Vikings do have a top 10 run defense, but they've allowed the 2nd most running back touches this year. And this is a game where I think Seattle's an 11-point favorite, so there should be a decent amount of running back touches. Walker's pass game role, which he clearly has right now over Charbonnet, gives him the edge straight up over Charbonnet to me. JSN, I wrote platinum, diamond, uranium, vibranium. Just, that's fine. And then leave everyone else on the bench. The passing game is just JSN.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. We're going to go over to the 49ers in Cleveland, who the weather report looks like 36 degrees, rain, snow, or maybe even sleet. That's just for you, Paul, out there. Paul in Utah. Yeah. All right. Christian McCaffrey. The Browns have only allowed 6 total touchdowns to running backs this year, and they've given up the 9th fewest combo yards to the running back position at 110 per game. But I cannot figure out a way to not give McCaffrey a gold grade in this game. He leads the NFL in receptions over JSN and Puka. He's the number 1 wide receiver in the league, and he also carries the ball 20 times a game. Yeah, you can't take
Brian Robinson call out was a valid one.
You can't take the gold off of him. George Kittle has the best matchup of all the matchups against Cleveland. Top tier tight ends have hit double-digit PPR points against the Browns. Brock Bowers did it last week. Mark Andrews the week before. So I'll give Kittle a silver grade here. And then we go to Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings. Well, Kittle had 10 targets last week. Jennings and Pearsall combined for 11, and that's not good. And with Brock Purdy throwing 3 picks last week, I don't know if they're going to push the ball too far downfield in what could be a bad weather game against a really good defense. So I'm going to leave both Pearsall and Jennings on the bench. I did mention Purdy had those 3 turnovers last week and only 193 yards against the Panthers. Only 4 quarterbacks in 11 games have thrown multiple touchdown passes against the Browns, and only 2 quarterbacks have topped 240 yards against Cleveland this season. So Purdy is on the bench as well. Shadur Sanders was my roll the dice quarterback. To be honest, he's probably pretty close to a bench grade though in this one. I don't think I would be as daring to go Shadur over Purdy in this one. But yeah. Dylan Sampson was Trevor's roll the dice running back, and I think that's where Shedeur can make some money. Harold Fannin was his favorite target last week, though. He caught 4 of 6 targets for 40 yards. He faces a San Francisco team that's given up the 6th most touchdowns to opposing tight ends. That includes 4 in the last 4 weeks. And David Njoku was not targeted 1 time last week, so Fannin gets a bronze in this one. Jerry Jeudy, I think, is the only wide receiver you'd consider. He was on the field for 65% of the snaps last week. That was the highest by kind of a long shot of the Browns receivers. But he's only targeted 3 times. The Niners have allowed the 2nd most receptions and the 3rd most receiving yards to wide receivers. And if they're going to test Sanders and they're going to see if he can be successful, he's got to try to get downfield to wide receivers. He's going to have to target a wide receiver eventually. And this matchup is too good to not give Jeudy at least a bronze grade in this one. If you can't in this one, you can never start a Cleveland Browns wide receiver again.
Yeah.
If Sanders is going to be successful, he's gonna do it this week. And so there we go. Quinshon Judkins, Trevor mentioned that he was in the concussion protocol. I had read that it looks like he's gonna try to play this week. We'll see on Sunday. He scored twice last week, but his yardage production has been way down. He's averaging less than 3.5 yards per carry in each of the last 6 games. That's really bad. So if he does go in this one, I'll give him a bronze grade. Niners are middle of the pack against runners. They give up a lot of points through the air to opposing backs, which is where Dylan Sampson comes in. And Sampson's a much better start than Quinshon Judkins, believe it or not, in this one. All right, let's go over to the Raiders and Chargers, Kent. And Chip Kelly was fired as the Raiders offensive coordinator in Vegas last week. Taking over for him, Greg Olsen, who takes his 3rd stint as the Raiders offensive coordinator.
That's crazy, isn't it?
As you said it, I was like, Greg Olsen's definitely coached the Raiders offensive. Yeah, amazing.
The 3rd time.
That is wild.
Who will he get going on that Raiders offense this week in LA?
I mean, distinction without difference here, guys. It's the only real 2 playable players on this offense right now are Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers. Everyone else is really sketchy.
Well, and Genty might not go. He got rolled up on the ankle at the tail end of last week's game.
Yeah, again, it's earlier in the week, so we don't have the practice reports yet. I am expecting him to suit up with maybe some limited practice this week, but I could be wrong. He could sit out. If he does sit out, I'm not interested in who do we have?
Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, I'm just not interested.
Not a must start.
Not at all. I will give Genty a silver grade if he does play. He's got the volume in his last 4 games. He's averaging 14 attempts, 6.5 targets, 74 scrimmage yards, which is not as much as you'd like, but he has 3 total touchdowns. He's just getting enough points to be startable. Los Angeles Chargers are actually kind of a run funnel. They're just not cracking big plays, allowing the big plays. They have 11 rushing touchdowns allowed on the season, which is 4th most. But the 4th fewest explosive rushing plays, like I mentioned. So Jacksonville did kind of gut them last week. 42 combined rushing attempts for 183 yards and 3 touchdowns. So
42 combined rushing attempts?
Isn't that kind of crazy? I mean, the game got out of hand. Jacksonville got ahead. They had to burn the clock, but they still got, like the hit pay dirt, and they had a lot of yards on it too. So he gets a silver if he does suit up. Brock Bowers, like I mentioned, also gets a silver in last month. He's got good numbers, 9.3 targets per game, 71 yards, 3 total touchdowns. It's pretty awesome. We're tempering the upside expectations. The Chargers allow the 6th fewest fantasy points to tight ends. In the last matchup versus the Chargers, Bowers had 8 targets, of which he caught 5 for 38 yards. And in fact, the only tight end to clear 47 yards is Tyler Warren this year. So not a good spot for Bowers here. He is startable just on that volume, though. Like I said, Geno Smith, bench. He's got the 4th worst PFF passing grade among quarterbacks with 200 dropbacks, and the Chargers defense is really tough. So for that reason, we are also benching Trey Tucker, Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett led the team in receiving last week, so I feel like I had to mention him here. But
Tyler Lockett
do not play
is
him.
Probably the number 1 wide receiver for the Raiders the rest of the way.
Trey Tucker is running 98% of routes. He's got 39% of air yards, just a lower target share. So he's got some appeal in better matchups, just not this week. Looking at the Chargers, Justin Herbert, like we mentioned earlier, the rushing quarterback. He's getting a silver grade. He's coming off a very tough game against Jacksonville, like we just mentioned. He went 10 for 18 for 81 yards and a pick. The Raiders are middle of the pack for fantasy points allowed. Usually it's game script dependent, but Justin Herbert has 4 out of his last 5 games with 24 plus rushing yards, like I mentioned. If he can bounce back kind of in a big way, get some passing touchdowns, he's in for a good spot here. O'Marion Hampton, again, sounds like he could be back in action. First game back, could come with some question marks. I will give him a silver grade if he plays. He was running back 5 in points per game after Najee Harris got injured, so he has that potential there. The offensive line was a little bit better looking at that point, though, so we could have some question marks around that. But again, it's kind of seeing how he lands in the new shaped offense with that afterwards. Ladd McConkey, he will get a silver grade. 6 or fewer targets in the last 3 weeks, which is tough, but he is leading the team with 28% of the air yards in that span. So of the receivers, he's in the best position. Keenan Allen, I would have down at a bronze. He's got a similar target profile, just lower ADOT. He's got 44 or fewer yards in 3 of his last 4 games, and only 1 red zone target in that stretch, no touchdowns. So it's been a lot slower for him lately. Old age catches up to you, right, Matt?
It sure does.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to call you out like that. But
although I was telling Trevor earlier that I did run a 40 in the 5s in this last calendar year.
Very nice.
So I feel pretty good. Like I could maybe hit the combine if I work really hard next year.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Quentin Johnson, bench grade. He's got 2 goose eggs in 4 weeks. I'm just not interested in testing those waters anymore. Last week he had 3 targets, caught none of them. So yeah, I'm out until there's maybe a better matchup or something like that, but not interested. Rondé Gadsden, he's been a little slower lately. He gets a bronze grade here. He's got 6 straight games with 5+ targets, which is great. But just 54 total receiving yards in the last 2 weeks. The Raiders are actually weirdly staunch against the tight end position. 5th fewest fantasy points allowed. No tight end has been more than 66 yards all season. So probably not a blow-up spot for him. If you need a tight end, he could probably get the job done, but that's about it.
Every time I hear the word staunch, I think it smells bad, like stench. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from.
I just always equate those two. I don't know why. Trevor, Sunday night, the Broncos and Commanders are going to play, and it seems like a smash spot for Bo Nix to bounce back from a couple disappointing fantasy weeks in a row.
Yeah, I agree. Bo Nix, I gave a silver grade too. Washington's defense is very bad. They've given up the 5th most points on the year at 26.9 per game. Over the last 3, that's dropped to 32.7. Bo Nix is very defense dependent in his fantasy output. Bo's 3 best fantasy performances this year were against the Bengals, Cowboys, and Giants. Those teams in order are the 30th, 31st, and 32nd ranked teams in scoring defense. This week, he gets the Washington professional football team, checks in at 28th in that metric.
They're the Commanders now. I don't know if they're a professional football team.
That's
true.
Yeah, the professional part. All right. Well, the football team.
Yeah.
Bo was combined for 11 total touchdowns in those 3 games against those the dregs of the league. Fire him up. Don't watch the game because it's going to drive you crazy. That's not going to make sense how Bo Nix got to his fantasy points, but
he'll probably do it in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, you'll probably end up with 22 and be like, how did that happen?
Maybe just watch the 4th quarter.
Yeah. When he puts up 33 or whatever. Yeah. So no J.K. Dobbins anymore. R.J. Harvey, we're going to throw a bronze grade to as well. Saw the biggest workload that he has all year since week 4 last week. Turned his 14 touches into just 15 yards, unfortunately. However, Washington's a great spot for running backs. They've allowed the 5th most rushing yards on the year, and there should be ample opportunity for R.J. Harvey. Rushing volume, as Denver is a 6.5-point favorite with a top 3 defense against a bare bones Washington offense with Marcus Mariota.
Maybe Jaden Daniels?
Yeah,
and his floppy arm?
Even then, I just, I'll probably be okay. The receivers, I'm going to give Troy Franklin a silver and Cortland Sutton's a bronze. Washington's pass defense is atrocious.
You're seeing it my way now, Trevor.
Yes, I agree. I think Franklin's kind of passed Sutton on the number 1 receiver chart there. Washington's pass defense giving up the 4th most yards to the position, 7th most touchdowns. Franklin is getting the number 1 receiver treatment by Denver, averaging 9 targets per game over his last 5 compared to just under 7 for Cortland Sutton during that stretch. Franklin's also got 4 touchdowns during those games with just 1 for Sutton. Throw the other receivers and tight ends on the bench. Evan Ingram, just 10 catches over his last 4 games. I'm not interested there. On the other side,
there can't be much to like.
I was going to say, who do I have that's not on the bench? Mariota's on the bench. Denver's D is incredible, specifically against quarterback ground game. Running backs, both on the bench. Chris Rodriguez and JCM are 2 halves of an HOLE hole.
Okay.
Anybody like that? Okay. Neither's getting enough work to matter in this matchup against the elite Denver run defense. Terry McLaurin might be healthy enough to play, but it would be his first action.
I feel like we've said that for weeks though now. Too.
Yeah, and he would immediately see Patrick Surtain too, who's also expected back this week. Debo is going to be my one bronze grade. He's got a touchdown each of the past 2 games, which has buoyed his fantasy performance. 6 targets per game over the last 4, averaging. Adds a carry per game as well. So that's kind of all I got. And then Ertz on the bench. He's got 4 catches in 4 straight. He hasn't cracked 50 yards more than only twice this season. Like most fantasy tight ends, if he falls into the end zone, he's a good play. Otherwise, he's just like the rest of them.
Yeah. All right. We'll go to the final matchup. It's the Monday nighter. It's the Giants and the Patriots. And we're going to talk about the quarterbacks to start, Jackson Dart or Jameis Winston. And I think it's going to be Dart. He almost cleared the concussion protocol last week, which means he's probably going to go on Monday night. But if you're planning on starting Dart, you probably want to have Winston as a backup just in case. Only one quarterback in the last 5 games has topped 225 yards against the Patriots, although they have given up 10 touchdown passes in that span. Running quarterbacks have had good success against New England. 2 weeks ago, Justin Fields had 67 yards on the score on the ground. In week 5, Josh Allen had 53 yards. Excuse me. If it's Jackson Dart, I'll give him a bronze grade. If it's Jameis Winston, I'll give him a bench grade.
For what it's worth, he did have a full practice today, Jackson Dart. Yep.
Then he's probably
I'm saying he's probably going to play.
All right. I had a little tickle in my throat there. I had to get it with the water. Flush it down. Wan'Dale Robinson runs almost all of his routes from the slot. And the Patriots' best cover corner this year, according to Pro Football Focus, has been Marcus Jones, their slot corner. Jones has given up 5 touchdowns in his coverage. That's bad, but only 315 total yards over the course of the season. That's good. So they've all been very short touchdowns. Isaiah Hodgins has popped off in the last 2 weeks with Winston under center, but I don't know if I could trust Dart to support 2 wide receivers, especially if Darius Slayton returns and it looks like he could go. You wouldn't start him Monday night, though. I'd prefer to leave all 3 of the Giants wide receivers on the bench. If you're going to start one, it's Wan'Dale. It's just a bronze grade, and you're hoping for a short touchdown, which really isn't his game. He's a long touchdown guy. So, I don't know if I like it all that much. Theo Johnson has been Dart's favorite target near the end zone. The Pats have given up the 3rd most receptions to tight ends on the season and the 7th most yards, but they've only allowed 4 scores to tight ends. So just a bronze level start for Theo Johnson. You're, same thing as the other guys. You need a touchdown for him to pay off. Tyrone Tracy or Devin Singletary. It doesn't matter which one. You're leaving both on the bench in this game. The Patriots are only allowing 63 rushing yards per game. That's the 3rd fewest in the league. And these 2 guys are basically splitting carries. Tracy's getting like 60 to the 40 of Singletary, but that means like 35, 38 yards for Tyrone Tracy in this game. And the Patriots haven't given up a touchdown to a running back since week 3. No way. On the other side, Ramondre Stevenson was eased back into the offense last week. He only had 7 touches against the Bengals. Travion Henderson had 21 touches in that game. And I'm not sure if that completely signifies a changing of the guard in New England or if they were just protecting Stevenson a little bit. But the matchup is as good as it can get. The Giants are allowing 6.2 yards per carry. Why would you ever not run the ball against the Giants? Right. And I think, Kent, did you have the stat last week that like 1 out of every 8 carries was like for 15 yards against the Giants?
Yep.
It's just ridiculous. They're allowing the most rushing yards per game, 127. They've given up the most touchdowns to running backs this year with 16. Henderson is a gold grade, and Stevenson is a silver grade in this matchup. It's pretty hard to go Yukon Cornelius on 2 running backs on the same team, but I'm doing it. Stephon Diggs, alpha wide receivers have gotten it done against the Giants in their last 3 games. The top wide receiver has hit 20 PPR points against them. But I don't think I'd start Mac Hollins in this one, even though Hollins led the wide receiver room in targets last week with 6. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 4 and he's only topped 50 yards 3 times this season. So silver grade for Diggs, bench for the rest of the wide receivers. Hunter Henry heads back to your bench this week. The Patriots lost their left tackle and left guard last week. So I'm guessing they're going to need to keep the tight ends in to block for Drake May's blind side. And last week was against Cincinnati for Hunter Henry. So you take whatever stats he had with a grain of salt in that one, and he did well last week, but he's not starting this week. He'll be on the field a lot, but as a blocker.
Hunter Henry is like the invisible man in Mystery Men, where his powers only work when you don't look at him. And it's the second the spotlight's on him, then he's back to being just a regular dude.
Yeah, that's probably it. Oh, I mean, maybe we're not looking at him this
And that's
week.
not a dated reference at all.
Finally, last guy we'll mention here, Drake May. He lost left tackle Will Campbell to a knee injury and left guard Jared Wilson to an ankle sprain last week, and that's not good. The Patriots' offensive line wasn't great before that, and Will Campbell was definitely the best piece of it. But May has either topped 280 passing yards or thrown for multiple touchdowns in 7 straight games. And this matchup is too good to freak out about the O-line too much. If there's one matchup you don't freak out about, it's against the Giants. They're bottom 10 in the league in every single metric against the quarterback. Passing, running, burrowing underground, whatever. Drake May is still a golden boy. I'll give him another. Why isn't that working? Oh, I guess my sounders don't work anymore. I love gold. How about that?
Nailed it.
Yeah. That's it for the Fantasy Friday episode here on Thanksgiving week 13. I'll remind everybody on Game Blazers, try Game Blazers this week. Win your share of $40,000 in prizes and free roll games. And if you sign up using our promo code FFAD, you get a free starter pack and a free rare pack to get kicked off. And then if you spend $5, they'll give you 2 more rare packs. That's a $50 value. You can learn more at gameblazers.com. Kent and Trevor, anything that you guys want to plug or talk about before we get off this podcast, or you just want to go start drinking for the holidays?
Start drinking, getting our turkey on.
Yeah. You mean continue?
Oh,
drinking.
yeah.
No, happy Thanksgiving to everyone who celebrates out there, and enjoy time with your family and time off work, presumably for a lot of people. So, yeah.
All right. Kent, great job. Trevor, that's a good rookie performance right there.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you're going to be better than what Max Brosmer does this week.
Yeah, probably not rookie of the week, but
okay. But it was pretty solid. All right. Thank you for listening to Fantasy Football Almost Daily. We will see you next week. And I hit the wrong button there.
This was Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts.